a 1998 to 2006 Mercedes-Benz with an M113 V8 engine or the M112 V6 engine, this video is for you because there are two things on these engines that can leave you stranded. They're very good engines, they can be very reliable, but these two things can actually cause the engine to quit. So it's very important, and what I'm going to recommend is that you change them preventatively. Do it before they go bad. Number one is the crank position sensor, which is located on the left side rear of the engine bell housing. Now it's fairly easy to get to on the V8, it's a little more difficult to get to on the V6. The other item is the voltage regulator. Now the voltage regulators will generally go 100,000 miles, so if you have a low mileage car you may not be as concerned. I've seen voltage regulators go 150,000 miles. But when they fail, the alternator will stop charging the battery, your computers will go wacko, and the car will quit. If the crank position sensor fails, now this is not mileage related. The replacement sensors are much more reliable than the original. So this is something you just want to replace, even if the engine's running just fine. There's other information about changing the voltage regulator. I have a special on-demand video on my website which goes over that in detail, and it's much more difficult to change. The crank position sensor, 20, 30 minutes. If you have a V8, maybe a little longer if you have a V6. Now I'm going to show you what the crank position sensor looks like, but the purpose of this video is to warn you. Come on, just change that crank position sensor and you won't have to worry about that, all right? So you can probably get to it and get it on and off in the V8s with the air cleaner assembly on the engine, but if you remove the air cleaner assembly, you can get better light to it and you've got a little more room to work your arm down in here. This is the crank position sensor. It's a very inexpensive part, $20 to $25. So there's no reason not to change it before it fails. As I said, the new part is upgraded and less prone to failure than the original. So that's another good reason why you'd want to change this. Oh, it's time to rescue another one. This is my son's E500 W211 chassis. And he has asked for my help. He says, what could be wrong with this car? It keeps quitting. I've had it quit 2 times in 2 different coffee stands. It just quits. I said, you got to stop drinking coffee. So I said, let's give it a shot. I think the fact that this car's been quitting and as soon as it cools down, it starts up again, I'm convinced it's going to be the crank position sensor. Every chassis is a little bit different as far as access, but this one doesn't look like it's going to be too bad. I think I can get right down in there and get a hold of that wiring and get that crank position sensor out here in about 15 minutes. We'll go ahead and pull the air cleaner assembly. Oh man, got to have good light. All right. Happy birthday, Matthew. Now I've got to check and see if that's straight. It does look straight. Now here's a trick that works if you can get your right hand down onto that crank position sensor. I've got my hand down there. I was able to locate the socket right on the head of that bolt. And I'm going to keep it on there while I take this flex head ratchet and I'm going to go ahead and tighten that down right there. Okay, got it. Then I'm going to hang on to that socket, make sure that doesn't drop. To put the plug back on, you just reach down in there, locate it on top of the sensor and just push. And you'll feel it snap into place. And then pull back on it to make sure it's locked in. So we're going to hope that this solves the problem on this W211. I don't think Matthew's going to stop drinking coffee. Whoa, look at that. Haha, success. Now the real test, Matthew, is I want you to head for the coffee stand. get some coffee and see if it's going to quit on you. If it doesn't, we have solved the problem. So this is what it looks like in a V6. This is a C240, and you can see the engine is backed right up to the firewall. And I've told people, hey, it's 20 to 30 minute job in a V8, but it can be over an hour in a V6, particularly if you don't have the right tools and you're flailing around with universals and extensions and all kinds of things. You can see you have very limited access to get your hand down in here. And in my video instructions that come with my kit, you'll get some tips that'll help you do this with much less frustration, probably a lot faster on a V6. My kit comes with a crank position sensor, and of course you can buy that anywhere. But I include a quality E8 torque socket and a flexible extension. This is a real key in getting these crank position sensors installed easily. So if you're interested, just check out my kit on my website. I'll put some links in the description below this video. And if you have one of these V6s and V8s, even if it only has 70,000, 80,000 miles on it, I would recommend that you just replace this part for peace of mind. And I don't want you to end up like my son, who just had the engine quit on him. And that's kind of dangerous, just have the engine quit, particularly if you're driving down the road. But a crank position sensor fixed his E500, and he's back in the coffee line and has not had any problems since.
Hi there.
Hi, I'll have a 12-ounce double split shot sugar-free mocha with almond milk and no whipped cream.
You got it. For breakfast today?
Gluten-free ham and Swiss.
It's not too often I change 2 crank position sensors in one day. And I hope that if you own one of these engines, you'll consider replacing this part right here. It could possibly save you quite a bit of grief.